Ashlee, it's just you and me, and we are doing the wrap up of 2023 Lady Leader webinars. I first have to say, like, truly, and I know I say it every time, but I really am grateful, just getting to hear what's been helpful, what are the most watched ones, what are the things you guys like to hear about. It's really helpful. So I do really appreciate the texts and the messages and the feedback. Just because Ashlee and I were literally just texting about this, that we genuinely care so much about making sure you guys feel heard and making sure that the topics that are relevant to you, we're trying to cover as best we can. So thank you once again. Thank you for all the feedback. We did do, I believe, 11 webinars, one every month throughout 2023. And what I did is I kind of took everything and turned it into what are some of the really big topics so that people could potentially go back and access them. Because a lot of times people ask questions in DSN, things like that, and there's some really great resources that we have that we've done that they could utilize. So I think one of the first topics that I thought we could dive into that really I got lots of messages about this one, and that was, do I need an admin assistant? Or I think I may, but I'm really, really scared to spend the money on an admin assistant. So I thought, Ashlee, what were the top things, if you could just kind of quickly, because we're going to just bullet point through this because people can always go back to the webinar, but the top things that you see were concerns from doctors about getting an admin assistant, but why they really need them often.
Yeah. So what's funny is one is like it feels like it's a like bougie expense, or it's something like, well, only celebrities have personal assistants, or even admin assistants, but we kind of break them into three categories: personal admin, executive assistant. And it feels like such a luxury sometimes to have this person, and I see that as a concern quite often from the docs. And how do I present this to my team? And one of the biggest things I tell people is like, just explain, like, I know I'm the bottleneck here, the doctor. I know you guys are waiting on me to get stuff done. And this person is really just going to help move this along. It's going to help hold me accountable. It's going to help you be less frustrated because things are actually getting done. So that's a really big one. And then two, with regards to, I know that I need someone, but where do I even start? If you look up, I think if you're even inside of DSN, I have my what can I delegate list. You can even just look what can I delegate, and it's all across DSN. It's just a list of 2 pages of all the different types of things you can start to delegate. And I tell people too, just keep a list on your phone and just start writing down the things that you hate doing, that suck up your time, that you're not good at, because you can usually find someone to help with those things. I think those are the 2 biggest things. This feels like a very much of a luxury expense, and I don't even know what I would do with them, but I feel like I need them. And those are kind of the 2 that I hear.
Yeah. And I would say that's the biggest thing I hear is, well, I'll just save the money and do it myself. And I'm always like, but tell me, is there something that only you can do? If there's something only you can do that's more pressing, that would actually have big impact on your practice, then it really does behoove you, for the sake of your team, to actually hire that person out, because they could do the job potentially just as well. I have found now, often they do it better than I ever could. So, because I don't actually like any of that stuff either. But,
right.
I find that a lot of times I tell doctors, like, if we really go through the list of what do you really know you need to work on? What are the things that you just, you gotta get done? Because it would truly be huge impact. Then let's work on those and delegate the rest of that. And I think, if you're looking for where do I find them, because I hear that a lot, where do I find them? I don't even have time to interview. I don't have time to train. Good news. Ashlee, that's a little bit of what you know about.
Yeah, that's what I'm here for. And then also, so 2 things. One, inside of Dental Success Network, I created a course, because if you want to do this yourself and you have capacity, I created a course that tells you how to onboard the person, how to write your ad, how to screen this person. You 100% can absolutely do it yourself. If you are overwhelmed and you don't want to do it yourself, or you don't feel like you're great at hiring, I think I added it up and I've done like over 600 interviews. And not this year, but like total in the last couple of years since I've been doing this. And we've created a pretty good system on how to find the right person and then put them through training, especially with how to be the administrative or executive assistant to a dentist, because it's kind of a unique situation. And that's where my humble roots and humble beginnings stemmed from, with as the personal assistant to Dr. Mark Costas. So
Yeah.
yeah, if you need help, shoot me a DM and let's talk about how I might be able to help get it done for you.
Yeah. And I say all the time, I mean, you've hired three of mine and they're not all full time. Sometimes people are like, geez, woman, why do you need all these people? And I'm like, they're not all full time. Some of them range 7 hours a week and they do really specific, they answer emails. Some of them, they work with one specific entity that I have and they completely create everything around just that entity. But then the executive assistant, she's the one who really does work pretty close to part-time and she really does oversee kind of everything. So, the nice thing is if you work with Ashlee, she can help gauge kind of maybe what's a better fit, what you need, help you find, where to find them and what to do with them when you get them. They don't all have to be full-time. I tell people,
right,
a lot of people are looking for just those couple hours a week. So
totally, and can be hybrid. It can be totally virtual. They can be a complete blend of, really, these positions can be tailored just for you. And the more, specific you can be and what you're looking for, the more likely you are to find that right fit. But even if you don't know what you're looking for, I can help walk you through that as well.
Yeah. So that was kind of one of our main topics that I did find that people had lots of questions around, which was great. So if you have more questions, please go ahead and access that webinar. It really does walk you through everything, or, talk to Ashlee and just kind of get the ball rolling. So that might be a great goal for 2024. Another goal that a lot of doctors might have, and after listening to this webinar, I do think it helped a lot of doctors think through the process of dropping PPOs in their office. So for a lot of doctors, that's become a goal of theirs. They want to start dropping, working with insurances, especially in network, so much. And that was a great webinar that we did with Amy Hernandez. And I find that I tell people all the time, what I loved is we really were able to kind of walk through really specifically how to make it not so scary, how to use the numbers, how to pull data, how to easily figure out which ones are the best ones to drop. And even, do I send letters? Do I not send letters? How do I tell the patients? How do I train my team? How to tell patients? And often, we've said going out of network can be quite a bit easier than I think people sometimes think. So if you're looking, like I said, if that potentially is one of your goals in 2024, is less insurance dependent, dependence in your office, then I think that's a great webinar. And I truly thank Amy Hernandez. She gave such really just fantastic tips, I think, for us too. So anything else there though, Ashlee, that you can think of?
I just wanted to harp on again, like, it didn't have to be, like, burn the bridge, I'm done, like, you cutting it all off at once. I think that was one of the biggest things that seems so scary and seems so overwhelming to everyone. And I just want to, touch on, definitely take a look at the webinar link. By the way, in the chat inside of Workplace, I am going to put a document that has links to all of our previous Lady Leaders webinars, so you can go back and reference all the ones that we're talking about.
Awesome. That's fantastic. So that was a really big topic. Another one that we did discuss, because we had so much continued hiring problems that were plaguing offices, I think, across the country, that one of the conversations we had was just, is starting a dental assisting school, right for my office? So, yes, that is something that I do and I can provide, is dental assisting, more or less in a box, a dental assistant course in a box. And my team is able to help get doctors credentialed in their state, if their state allows. There's a couple states that don't, but it helps doctors begin a dental assisting school in their own facility. It allows them to give certificates, x-ray certification, all of that, so that they can, yes, release them to the community, which is fantastic. But I'm going to be honest, over the last couple of years, I've used it solely for my own purpose, pretty much. And so I live up in the mountains.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. That's the best part of having a DA school, right? Is you're cherry picking.
Yep. And
you get to build your team.
It is. People have turned into some of my very best assistants. And, I've used the program in ways I never thought. I created what I call a dual enrollment program. So with this curriculum, and we put it all on Kajabi as a platform. The students can go through this and then simultaneously be having in-office work experience with us at a much lower rate than we would pay experienced office assistants. Mm-hmm. So they're getting both that certification with the school and on-the-job training. So we called it dual enrollment, and it allowed us, when nobody was applying, it allowed us to actually bring people in. I comp part of the tuition for the students in exchange. So I pay for some of that tuition, and then they work on the job here for a lower wage, more or less, as they're kind of getting their certification and learning on the job. So I've been able to find very interesting ways to use the program. But yeah, once you're fully staffed, the great thing is you and I both know it's a really profitable way to use your office when you don't see patients. It gives your team some really cool things to own. They can teach all of the courses. You know, and I have DAs now that went through that dual enrollment program who are now the ones who are teaching the next, DAs, because they loved it so much. So it's kind of allowed me to find some of those new up and coming rising superstars who are really passionate about the field, but I don't know if they would have made the jump into dental health without this. So totally. If you want more information, you can of course direct message me too, but it's not easy getting everything through the state, but once it's done and through the state, once the licensure is done, it can be a really cool part to add to your practice if that's something you're looking for. So anything else with that? Because you know it very well too, Ashlee.
I mean, that used to be part of my job, was helping with the licensing of dentists across the country. And as you mentioned, can be challenging just dealing with the bureaucracy stuff. But man, it's just so cool and rewarding, I think, too, to be able to know, it was really cool to work in some of Dr. Costa's offices and know that, so-and-so had been in his very first class that he had in 2006 and, back in the day. And anyway, it's a really dynamic and excellent way to provide value to your community as well. But a lot of times these types of programs aren't within the community as well. You're in a very rural area. There's not a lot of those types of courses near you. And so it provides a benefit to your office as well as your community, which I think is cool.
Yeah. It's a way to supplement, your team's income if they so choose, gives them something to own. Great for the community. It is profitable for sure. You don't have to be totally hands-on. But like I said, when push came to shove, I definitely used it to find my own people, which I was thankful for. So yeah, if you want more information about that, you can check out the webinar or of course message me as well. Another really webinar that I'm hoping people will go back and check out again is incorporating health-based dentistry. And we did that with Michelle Jorgensen. And I really thought that was an interesting webinar. She brought up so many cool topics about when you're ready to start just even dipping your toe in more of the true health-based, dental practices, ozonated water and using some really alternative products and things like that. Her webinar I thought was super interesting with how she walked through with offices, having safer and healthier amalgam removal and things like that. So I don't know if you have anything else to add there, but I really enjoyed learning more about that, because I have to admit that's not something that's in my wheelhouse, but I enjoyed quite a bit getting to hear how she did it and how she walks practices kind of stepwise through incorporating that. So if you're looking to be a differentiator in your community, that her information could help.
Yeah, and what I loved about that one, kind of like the PPO thing, one, it was a lot of new information for me, but two, it's really interesting to hear that when patients are starting to ask for more of these types of services, that you can be, like she said, these step-by-step ways. You don't have to commit to being like, we're a fully, holistic, which, Michelle doesn't even like that term. But or a fully this type of dental office. It's the little things that you can do to provide even for the patients who are looking for these types of services, and it doesn't have to be an all or nothing jumping into the deep end of the pool type situation, which in my mind, I don't know why I thought it was kind of like organic food versus non-organic, like it's one or the other, it's black or white, and it doesn't have to be so black or white.
Not at all. And actually, I remember like the cost to get in was actually really, really
Yeah.
small. I couldn't believe it was a
Hmm.
couple $100 that you could actually start kind of dipping your toe in. So if you have more interest in that, and you're, like I said, you're looking for maybe something to incorporate in your office, this is something you're passionate about. Like I said, check that webinar out. She has really cool information in there for sure. So
And
the
if you're just looking for a mildly horrifying story of what ozonated water can clean out of a practice you acquired, she gave a really great story about that too, and it's lodged in my brain forever now.
uh-huh. I remember a lot of what she said. I was like, what have I been doing my whole life? Like,
Right, right, right. I was like, holy cow.
do I
Anyway,
need
but
to?
it was super interesting too. Super interesting.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, maybe I should stay ignorant. I don't know. Um, but yeah, so and then the next subject I will say, I think was one of the biggest, I think you said really overall ever in general. And that's we did 3 webinars with Rachel Wall all about hygiene. And I would say the ones I've done in the past too about hygiene have always been really popular, but not to toot all of our own horns. But I will say, like, if you're looking for free resources for your hygiene team to start ramping up in 2024, to really start building a hygiene team that has great verbiage, great tools, great resources. I think the 3 of us really did walk through so many options out there for building an incredibly productive and genuinely high impact hygiene team. Those are some of my very favorites because I love, love, love everybody who knows me. I love building dynamic, really great hygiene teams. And I just think Rachel brings such high value information. What do you think?
Well, I think the fact that we had 3 of these like says something, right? Like so many people, like you said, Summer, like we love, love, love to hear from you. So tell us the topics you want to hear about. Tell us the ones that made the most difference to you. Tell us about the ones you found the most value in, because we want to continue to provide you with this content as we move into 24. We're starting to plan our 2024, which is very exciting. But yeah, there was 3 webinars with Rachel Wall because we had so many people that were like, oh my gosh, we need more. Or we would start going down. There was just so much to explore and so many amazing gems. So be sure and check out those links to those webinars as well, because man, it's just so much incredible knowledge.
Well, and what I will say is like a lot of times I kept hearing doctors when I would do coaching calls talking about I'm not ready to maybe fully commit to either bringing somebody out or flying my whole hygiene team, which some of these
Mm-hmm.
doctors have, 3, 4 hygienists, and it's
Sure.
costly. So they're not quite ready. And they don't even know if their hygienists are ready yet for that. And I tell them, I'm like,
Yeah.
you're already on DSN. There is so many in the Lady Leader webinars over the last 3 years. I think there's so many hygiene gems of things that you could first listen to as a doctor and then listen to with your hygiene team, lunch and learns
Mm-hmm.
with it. And the cool thing is they're hearing it from other hygienists. So I find that hygienists have been really excited about the information too. And it's all included, with the DSN membership. So I'm like, boy, it's just right there at your fingertips. It's such a nice way to kind of ease them in and see if maybe exploring something bigger with Rachel Wall or Inspired Hygiene could be kind of a next step afterwards. So they're all
For
right
sure.
there. So um, and then lastly, I'm going to wrap it up because we actually did 2 webinars and I think I remembered and forgot this already, but we did 2 webinars. I was like, that's right, we did. On addressing burnout and the feelings of just getting overwhelmed throughout the year. And, I think this is one of those topics that I was really happy that we were able to talk through 2 different times because we talked about it's super important for the doctors to really address when they're having these, concerns, these feelings, the anxiety that might be kind of sitting on their chest or wherever it may live, to really start to recognize it. Because here's the thing is in the first webinar, we talked about it affects the team too. Yes, we affect the team, but how we're feeling, often the team is to some degree feeling too. And I was reading recently that the rate of healthcare worker burnout has actually gone up significantly this year. And it's almost like it was this trickle down cumulative effect that I think everybody's just getting a little bit tired, right? We've been short staffed, we had COVID, all the hygiene stuff, a lot of stuff on doctors' plates. And they're pushing themselves so darn hard. And a lot of our team members are pushing themselves so darn hard that there's been a lot of burnout. I've heard a lot of people who've had big team turnovers, which were out of the blue, turnovers of people that they never expected. So we addressed that in the first webinar, noticing it yourself, and then how do you talk to your team about it, which it feels like that little bit of a tricky spot, but there's ways to do it to where you don't have to be a psychologist for your team, but you can, because
that's a fine line.
Exactly. And I don't go there either. But there's ways to support them, recognize it, let them feel heard, but then, like I said, not necessarily take the burden on too. And so we talked through like not noticing it, putting our heads in the sand isn't an option either. Not for the people that we love and care for in our own homes, but for our team's sake too. So, we dove into that in the first one. And then our second one was just last month. And we were really fortunate to have truly a nationwide speaker, Lauren Zoller, who's a somatic therapist, who she dove in even more to how entrepreneurs and doctors are pretty notorious for driving so incredibly hard, always reaching for more, always gunning for more, always more, that they often don't even sometimes notice it in themselves when they're getting some of these symptoms. They can't even necessarily identify them. And so I really loved that one. And I will say, I was really blessed and grateful. I just shared one with you today of the people who reached out and were like, I hadn't even thought of it like that. Even just a few of the things she said, it just made them say, I at least just had to stop and think through, oh, wait, I think this might be me. And, I always think to myself, just knowing
that was me on the webinar. I was like, I thought it was just Lauren talking to me. I was like, oh, I think I found the, hey, it's me. I'm the problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there was several people who were like, I didn't even know like how to categorize it or words to use or, and I said, even just hearing that, oh, wait, this is a really common thing, especially in hard driving doctors and entrepreneurs. And, I think the thing that she's definitely taught me too over the course that I've been with her is, actually taking the time to stop, be still, not driving so hard, taking the time to have a little bit of reprieve, kind of that off season, is really going to actually end up speeding up momentum long term when you can actually take care of some of the things that they may be surmounting that you don't even realize inside. And, we don't always notice how it's affecting other people, including, like I said, our families and teams. But I loved that she said, often that's what I find is really the ticket for entrepreneurs and doctors is that sense of being slow down, identify what's going on, deal with kind of what's going on, learn some tactics to work through it instead of just keep pushing it aside. And then, you can honestly attain even bigger goals than you ever thought before because you're clearer headed, you're feeling better, you're feeling more aligned, you're feeling more kind of at that neutral level versus just redlining, as I like to say.
Yep.
So
good one.
Yeah. I love to redline. So, and then it's usually once I get there that I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, totally. I'm like, what have I done?
I know I'm paying for it. So, so I think too, just knowing that sometimes that's one of those goals that it gets put on the back burner is truly genuinely taking care of mental health, taking care of ourselves, making sure that we're showing up the best for the people around us, actually addressing what might be truly causing some of that anxious feeling, the anxiety, a lot of times we don't even know it's there. We don't know even what it's called, but addressing that truly as a goal, can honestly help with everything else we're trying to accomplish. So I really appreciated us, taking the time, I think, to do those webinars, give people just a little peek into like, you're not alone. There's lots of us who have the same kind of feelings of being overwhelmed sometimes, or dare we say burnout, but all of it, we just We do tend to all have that in common. So anything else on that, Ash?
That was one of those ones that we got a lot of feedback on that was, I guess, like expected and unexpected. Like it was very much, there's more people dealing with that than are talking about it. And there was, that just made me feel wonderful that we were able to provide, some resources there. And going back to that point too, yes, burnout it's buzzword and we hear it all the time, and then we talk about how these things are like, oh, kind of fluffy and these are soft skills, and it feels like it's not as practical as by the numbers and getting production up and these types of things. But what I found really interesting about the webinar with Lauren is she was like, no, this is science. Like it's literally tied to your nervous system. Your nervous, it's like the finger bones connected to the hand bone, like it's all connected. This is connected to the shin bone. Anyway,
Yep.
I'm just gonna keep singing random songs on these webinars until we are done. But I just found it so fascinating because it is true. She's like, no, this is literally scientific. We're moving energy, throughout your nervous system that, it's just so fascinating. And anyway, yeah, I loved it. Loved it.
Yeah, I did too. And I agree with you. Like, it was so lovely to hear other people say, like, yeah, I didn't even realize that other people struggled with this too. So I agree. There's so much of what she said that I'm like, I can't wait to hopefully get her back next year to dive more into it. Because what she might be able to go into more, she said, was the psychology of our patients too. Being able to recognize that their nervous systems are often keyed up with past traumas and things like that. And it feels a little bit fluffy too, but she was like, it is real for them. And there's really simplistic things we can do, say, ways we can actually help them to just, like you said, calm some of that energy down. So yeah, if you want more information, that's a really great one that we just did last month. So, but yes, I think just to wrap it up, I will say I'm genuinely so grateful for you, Ashlee, for every single month hanging in with me and all the silliness that you and I do behind the scenes with everything. I really genuinely, we take it very seriously, actually. So
we do. Well, I'm back at you, Summer. So grateful as well. I have a question for you though. Can I end? But can we wrap up with a question?
I hope, yes.
Can you tell me, what are you excited about in 2024? What's next for for you, and what you want to do here with our Lady Leaders podcast?
Yeah.
Webinar series,
webinar, whatever it ends up on, who knows, right? I think, like I said, the biggest thing that matters to me is, and it really came to me that I'm like, I don't talk to be heard. I definitely talk so that other people can be heard. I really love knowing, I like bringing to light the topics that matter to everybody. I like trying to actually bring tactical information to the questions that people have. Because I'm like, there's no sense in me talking like just to be heard. All I really care about is, do people feel heard? Do they feel like they're getting information that's actually valuable? So, for me, I think I'm excited always to be as helpful as possible. And I got a few things in the works, of course, because all I care about is trying to shorten people's learning curve, expedite a lot of the things that I've had to figure out because I had no other choice. So I've come up with some ways to kind of help people with some online learning and things like that I'm really excited to kind of work on and unveil in 2024. So what about you?
I mean, I think the same. This is just a privilege to get to learn too. We get to sit here and learn as we provide content and information for others. It's fantastic for me too. I enjoy it. I enjoy getting, like you said, getting to connect with you each month and learning from you as well. And yeah, no, I'm just grateful to be here.
Yeah, me too. I know, I'm excited for 2024. Like I said, go ahead and check out the links that Ashlee posts to all of the previous webinars to see if there's any information that we discussed that you might want to know more about. And then truly message us, or you're welcome to put anything that in that same feed. You can write any topics that you'd love to hear more about for 2024. So everybody have wonderful holiday seasons. Everybody stay safe. And again, thank you so much for all the feedback. Thank you so much for listening. We truly appreciate it. So
thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thanks.